There, my name is Heather Feather. I am the owner of Rearbird Medicine, and today's topic is the shadow dance. I was thinking the other day about God saying, and let there be light. And so I was thinking about, well, before the light, then, which was a creative principle through the spoken word of God, before the light, it was darkness. It was the shadow. It was the shadows and the darkness that God itself was resting in, just hanging it, just lurking in the shadows, everybody. Fun. Okay. But I was thinking about this, how OG creation is darkness and gestation. And, the seed sits in the soil and it sits in the darkness, and it can bloom forth a fruit-bearing tree, and it can bloom forth all kinds of things. But first, it gets to sit in the darkness. And, in the womb, a child will gestate in the darkness before its eyes will acclimate to the light one day. So I was thinking about the virtue and the value of darkness, of the shadow. And I often speak about shadow integration from an outer perspective, integrating the outer shadow experience of one's life, because the outer is the inner and the inner is the outer. I see the outer as a reflection of the consciousness that one holds. And I don't think things are separate. Physical, mental, emotional, spiritual. I think the 4 quadrants of being are connected. I think it's all connected. And I think this outer reflection of my consciousness is connected to the consciousness going within. And if I'll change this up here, I'll get a different outpicturing out there. And so we have this dance. Carl Jung, basically coined the concept of shadow or shadow integration. And the Jungian concept of this is that the shadow are all the aspects of oneself and one's own consciousness that the individual is unwilling to accept and so the integration is needed, because it's like, this is a facet of your being. So the reason we shadow integrate is because we're looking to have a more holistic and truthful awareness of who we are, and a more holistic look at the self. Like, what is it you are unwilling to own that's true about you, or that you don't accept about you? It's usually the ignored, or it's almost like avoided. It's like these avoided aspects of self, the ways in which we run from self. And we're like, I'm not that. And I get it. Love the truth. And I do not on any level consider myself a liar. That's not a word that describes me, And I'm sure there are periods in my life in which there have been lies. And that's hard, because I really value integrity. My mother valued it. I value it. I value it in myself, and I deeply value it in others. And every being has 10,000 faces, and we can show up in this place in many different ways, and different experiences might elicit a different response, and it's hard to track it all. So I couldn't say today, I've never in my life lied, because that sounds like a lie. Probably I have somewhere, but it's something I'm very conscious of. I'd rather just deal with the truth. The truth is easier for me, even if somebody has to tell me a truth that hurts, I'd rather hear the truth. It's easier for me to okay, there's the truth. Let me just digest that, and then I'll be with what's what. I often focus on and consider shadow integration to really be also part and parcel of integrating that out picturing, because there are things that I look at in the outer world that Heather Feather is not a fan of. I am not a fan of that. I don't appreciate. I have a hard time maintaining the levels of respect and reverence that are available and accessible within me to continue to show up in the room when people act entitled, or they act like they should be treated in some kind of special way for anything, for their money, for their looks, for their education, for their knowledge. I don't care what it is. If you're on a high horse about yourself, or if there's any way in which you are behaving such that foundationally your behavior reflects that you feel superior to, it's first of all an indicator to me that you have extreme low self-esteem. It's just the volume's turned to 100. You wouldn't need to act pompous and bombastic and self-important beyond others unless you've actually felt that you were less than them. And so in a way it's tragic because it's almost like really toxic, inverted self-loathing. And I am not superior to that way of being. And I like work a lot to humble myself to wherever it is at our school that I want to myself be bombastic and be on my high horse and be like, I'm superior. And I'm superior because I know that it's not okay to be superior. It's like, I think I'm eating my own tail. What are we doing? I think I'm stuck in a loop. And so I try to not do that because it's ineffectual. So it's like, so I don't like that behavior, but because I'm holding like an attention and an energy on it of, I don't like it, sometimes it will show up in my field. And then I have to really take a look at Heather. So I use my outer life and working to integrate shadowy experiences or unwanted experiences. I've had two-leggeds do stuff where they obviously are behaving as if they're superior to me for whatever reason. And it's like, okay, you can be superior. Like, I don't really care. We can play this game if you want. It's all God, but whatever, you be superior, God. Like, okay. But if I want to get into judgment with him, I really try to take a look at myself and be like, okay, Heather Feather, let's just calm down, rein it in. They're just a reflection of your consciousness. Are there ways in which you behave entitled? 100% when I'm driving, I seem to be real entitled to what everyone on the road should be doing. You should be doing this. Like I seem to be the master and the commander of the road. And I tell myself a bunch, when somebody wants to get in front of me, please get in front of me. I didn't make the road. I don't own it. You know what I mean? I say it to myself in my car. So I remember like, Heather, you don't own the road, you little road dictator. You're not the boss of how everybody drives. You're not the boss of how others behave in the world. Silly goose. Are we goosing today or what are we doing? So what is it that you see in your outer world that you feel it makes sense to, be superior to that? What is it that that you really reflect as a shadowy quality in the outer world? And there are I think that there are hard drugs and things that you can do, excessive alcohol use that can become a gateway to a lot of unwanted energies I don't recommend. There are many realms and there are gateways to realms and, and I'm also able to look at those worlds without, I'm not superior to any crack addict I'm not superior to anyone in jail. Like, I want to remember what is it out here in life that is worthy of my judgment? That's shadow, that's bad. Ugh, gross, wrong. And then I think about whatever gross wrong experience I can come up with. We could be like, well, being a serial killer is gross and wrong. Or and then I think about how did that serial killer help those people to evolve their souls? How have all the people that have traumatized me helped to evolve me? Well, I've evolved a bunch and I've mostly evolved from the traumas and the challenges and the hardships. That's kind of the pressure that makes the diamond. How can the diamond shine the light of its love to a magnitude beyond the shadow that is so black? If you can't give a brilliance, you can't give a beautification of the light of love without an abject otherness and darkness to understand how to rubber band in that way. And so that's to me the crux of evolution each and every day. And so I'm constantly working to get Heather off her high horse of judging shadow because the blackness is precious. The night is precious. The sun and the moon have always chased each other. The little cutie patooties. And the sun would be so much less to us all if we didn't get that fall that it makes, under which it's out of sight, out of mind, because we get to have night and it's moon time. And so we get to gestate in that shadow. And we can say when it's a full moon and it's nighttime, bad things can happen. But it's really kind of my goal. One of the major high horses I want to get off of is that I, Heather Feather, am a better designer than the divine. So then that makes the question in my mind, why would this design be perfect? Because it's like, my Heather thinks, I don't want this person to suffer this way. I don't want this person to have to be homeless and not have access to shelter with this inclement weather, or like, I don't want this groundhog to be hungry. Like, whatever it is, like, my empathy is vast. And as I look upon the world, I can have empathy for so much. I'm never special in my suffering. I can see suffering in a lot of places I look. And no one enjoys suffering, and it's unpleasant. And I don't wish it on creation or on life. And what if it's not so bad? like, I don't know, like, we have creative principle. So why are we creating this? Why are we creating wars? Why are we creating righteousness around separation? Why are we creating indignation only for the labels we hold? People are so indignant about the labels they hold. You don't often see people being indignant about labels that they don't deal with in their life. You don't see people going to a cerebral palsy rally if they don't have someone in their family or haven't loved someone that has that. And I find that weird. It's like we can have compassion to want to support anything and everything, but there's always a period of rest too. And the layer of empathy and the layer of compassion and the layer of love and the layer of offering and the layer of generosity and the layer of loving kindness, I think also needs a period of rest. Because like love is a verb and it's active and it's a dynamic quality to express the light of your brilliance, the light of your awareness, the light of your love in the field of this dream and hologram, whatever, the scene. And so like, it's okay for it to have rest. It's okay to be blessed, and it's okay to not want to have to live in this mess. That's okay. Maybe both give you something so succinct, so complete, so much that we need a shadow dance. And so we learn to, as we evolve, I believe, dance with the shadow and stop like being like, get out of the dance floor. Nobody invited you, shadow. I'm going to let's judge shadow. Oh my God, it's terrible if that happened to you, Betty Sue, whatever. What if we embrace it, embrace the fear, embrace the shadow, embrace the tragedy, embrace the trauma, embrace the moon, embrace the night, embrace the gestation, embrace the seed, embrace the sitting, embrace the waiting, embrace the wanting, embrace the not knowing, embrace it, embrace it, embrace it, allow it, allow it, allow it, allow it. Some of the most beautiful moments I've seen have been in the blackness of a night sky, with my head out of my tent, just falling asleep, looking at the depth of blackness. I like my dad, think about black holes a bunch. I was telling someone in my family, I was like, I always think about black holes and the event horizon, and I'll go into this whole like nerd out science talk, and one of my family members was like, I can't remember if it was my brother, like, your dad thought about black holes a bunch, and I was like, really? I love black holes, and what a beautiful thing, this weird mystery, Some of the mysteries that we have are the darkness. And so I'm speaking about shadow in a context of many things. And and the implication that shadow, the hardship, the challenge, the trauma, the trial, the tribulation is the shadow is the darkness, is not to imply that that's the only way that darkness appears. It does gestate the seed. It is the darkness in the womb. It is the soother to the migraine. You know what I mean? It's a lot of things. It is the sensory deprivation that brings peace. It's has many ways that it can be received. So are you willing this day to dance with shadow, to dance with it, to allow it to come into your picture and fall away and come back in any given day? Are you willing to do the shadow dance? You can always subscribe to Rare Bird Medicine on YouTube, like and comment there. I always love to hear your thoughts. And you can always go to rarebirdmedicine.com. I have a lot of services that I offer there. I'm Moon.